Namaste. Myself Triveni Khurana, Assistant Professor, Faculty Physiotherapy and Diagnostics, JVN, Rajasthan. Today we are going to discuss about ataxia. Ataxia, the incoordination and balance dysfunction in movements without muscle weakness, causes gait and postural disturbance in patients with stroke, multiple sclerosis, and degeneration in the cerebellum. Incoordination and balance dysfunction in movements without muscle weakness are the most accepted definition of ataxia, which has three subcategories: sensory, vestibular, and cerebellar ataxia. When the cerebellum is damaged, ADL is disrupted in patients with the ataxia owing to disease such as spinocerebellar degeneration, multiple sclerosis, and stroke. In contrast, these can have several causes in children, such as infection and tumor. The cerebellum contributes to sensory motor control, gait, and balance for maintenance of upright posture. Furthermore, the cerebellum has an important role in motor learning and adaptation. Therefore, if the cerebellum is damaged, then these functions are disturbed and dyssymmetria, tremor, rebound phenomena, dysdiadochokinesia, dyssynergia, and hypotonia. Intervention is provided to patients with cerebellar ataxia to recover motor function and ADL. The intervention for rehab includes medication, surgery, physical therapy. The effect of medication and surgery depends on the cause of ataxia and extent of neuronal damage. However, there is no radical treatment for these diseases yet. Patients with cerebellar damage have impaired motor learning, but their ataxia, gait, and ADL can be improved. Studies with high methodological quantity and scientific evidence regarding the intervention using physical therapy for cerebellar ataxia occur as systemic review. Systemic review can particularly provide important information on physical therapy used for cerebellar ataxia. The aim was to review the important points for physical therapy to improve motor function and ADL in patients with cerebellar ataxia, and to search for the point which we should study in the future to establish the evidence of the effect of physical therapy for cerebellar ataxia. Based on these providing findings, recommendation possible physical therapy includes measure and intervention for cerebral ataxia and ADL in patient with cerebral damage is recommended. Evaluation for ataxia, balance, gait ability and ADL. The definition of function and ADL should be measured before and after physical therapy because patient must judge the effectiveness of intervention. Clinical scales are often used to investigate the effect of physical therapy. In cerebellar ataxia, the most often used specific scale for the severity of cerebellar ataxia were assessment and rating of ataxia, that is a scale for assessment and rating of ataxia, and interventional cooperative ataxia rating scale. These scales include measurement of not only incoordination movement of the upper and lower extremities but also balance in sitting, standing, and gait. The Berg balance scale, mostly used to measure balance ability comprehensively. Timed up and go test, 10-minute walk test, 2-minute walking test, and 6-minute walking test were used to measure the gait ability. Furthermore, the functional independence measure was used to measure ADL in patients with cerebellar ataxia. These scales are recommended and should be used to measure for severity of cerebellar ataxia and ability of balance and gait before and after physical therapy for cerebellar ataxia. Another possible test has been reported regarding ataxia and postural disorder. Force control test was conducted to test ability of force control by muscle contraction in the extremity by using a dynamometer in the isometric testing mode with Biodex. The inadequacy of force control by muscle contraction can cause posture and gait disturbances. The repeated and alternate movement with both legs is acquired in locomotion such as gait and pedaling. Therefore, measuring amplitude and speed in these motions because amplitude and speed of repetitive motion involve paddling movement with both legs are disturbed in patients with cerebellar ataxia. The performance of leg placement task has a strong relationship with gait disturbances in patients with cerebellar ataxia. Subjective visual vertical is measured in stroke patients because subjective visual vertical deviated to one side laterally and the bias causes dysfunction of postural control in stroke patients not only with palsy but also with cerebellar ataxia. Evaluation with neuroimaging. A functional MRI study revealed that cerebellar somatotopic maps are associated with voluntary limb movement in lobules and sublobules in the rostral and caudal spinocerebellar cortex. Voluntary limb movement is disturbed in patients with the atrophy in intermediate and lateral cerebellum, which can be evaluated with MRI. Furthermore, a voxel-based lesion symptom mapping study using MRI revealed that limb ataxia was significantly correlated with lesions of the interposed and part of the dentate nuclei, and ataxia of posture and gait was significantly correlated with lesions of fastigial nuclei, including interposed nuclei. Subsequently, MRI is useful to estimate location causing incoordination movement. The motor evoked potential induced by transcranial magnetic stimulation over the primary motor cortex is inhibited by this over the contralateral cerebellum. This cerebellar brain inhibition is modulated in patients with cerebellar ataxia and in healthy adults after motor learning, indicating that CBI reflects excitability of the cerebellum and the function of connectivity of the cerebellum and other tissues associated with motor control and learning. Therefore, CBI may be useful for estimation whether ataxia may be due to the disturbance of the input, output, or cerebellum itself, and the effect of physical therapy in cerebellar plastic change. The cerebellum has output to the vestibular nuclei, red nuclei, reticular formation, and functional corroboration with the brain stem. The vestibulospinal, rubrospinal, and reticulospinal tracts play an important role in postural control. TMS facilitates spinal reflex mediated with the extrapyramidal tracts. The cerebellar spinal facilitation is modulated by motor task, which requires cerebellar excitation. In contrast, cerebellar TMS induces long latency electromyographic responses in the hand muscles, particularly during visually guided manual tracking tasks and in the lower muscles. which can be mediated by vestibulospinal and reticulospinal tracts. Therefore, CSPF and CLER may be useful to detect the function of cerebellar output and that of the cerebellum itself. A rehab program including foot sensory stimulation, balance, and gait training with limited vision adapted to patients with ataxic neuropathy. Results suggest that there is a possibility that the intervention improves the motor function in patients with ataxic neuropathies. Trunk stabilization and locomotor training in cerebellar ataxia can improve the balance score. Furthermore, core stability exercise increases trunk stability to facilitate skilled motor behavior of the upper extremities. Rehab program including gait training in patients with degenerative cerebellar ataxia is disturbed. However, no RCT report focused on specially gait training for patients with cerebellar ataxia. Human locomotor adaptive learning is proportional to the depression of cerebellar excitability, and patients with ataxia with cerebellar damage have partially impaired in motor learning. But some previous studies reported that gait training can improve the function of gait. Locomotive training on the ground is applied and treadmill training is applied to cerebellar ataxia gait in adults and children, resulting to the intervention that contributes gait function improvement. Furthermore, body weight support on a treadmill can improve balance and gait function with severe cerebellar ataxia. Task-oriented or facilitation approach was conducted to cerebellar ataxia in MS to improve gait ability. Both approaches improved gait function, but no significant difference was found on the effect in both approaches. Another possible gait function improvement on cerebellar ataxia was reported. Auditory feedback control therapy can improve ataxic gait in MS, and orthopedic shoes were used to improve gait in Friedreich's ataxia in a single case report. Now, it is non-invasive brain stimulation. It is repetitive TMS and transcranial direct current stimulation over the primary cortex. Primary motor cortex can modulate the excitability of motor cortex and used as an effective tool for enhancing behavioral training after stroke with hemiplegia. Furthermore, NIBS to the cerebellum modulated cerebellar excitability, motor function, and motor learning in healthy population. In patients with cerebellar ataxia, some previous studies reported about the effects of DTCS to the cerebellum on motor function. A double-blind, randomized, and sham-controlled study revealed that cerebellar DTCs improved SARA, ICRAS, and 9-hole peg test and speed gait also. But it is not clear whether the effect remains for a long term. In another report, TDCS over the cerebellum and contralateral motor cortex reduced postural and action tremor due to degenerative cerebellum in patients. So, RTMS over the cerebellum in patients with cerebellar stroke and cerebellar ataxia improves subscore on gait and posture with improvement in neurophysiological parameters. Gait, balance, and ADL are disturbed in patients with cerebellar ataxia owing to disease such as strokes, SSD, and MS. Severity of cerebellar ataxia depends on the disease. Thank you.